Hello and welcome to English in Fluency. I'm your host, Alex. It's so good to have you listening with me today. I want you to think for a moment about the people you admire, the people who seem to move through life with ease, who have wonderful friends, successful careers, and happy families. What is their secret? Is it their intelligence, their talent, their looks? While those things can help, the real secret is often something much simpler, yet much more powerful. It's their ability to connect with other people. We all have to navigate a world full of other people. At home, at work, in our communities, and our happiness and success in life depend so much on the quality of our relationships. Have you ever had a brilliant idea, but struggled to get others to support it? Or have you ever felt misunderstood or unappreciated by the people you care about? These are common human experiences. We all want to be heard, to be liked, and to feel that we can positively influence the world around us. This isn't about manipulation or trying to control people. It's about understanding. It's about building bridges of communication and respect. Today, we are going to explore some of the most powerful and timeless principles for building strong, positive relationships. These are the unwritten rules of human interaction that can transform your personal and professional life. And the best part is, anyone can learn them. They don't require special talent, just a little bit of practice, and a genuine desire to connect with others. As we explore these ideas, we will also be improving our English together, learning the vocabulary and the expressions to become not just better speakers, but better communicators. So please get comfortable. Open your mind, and let's begin the journey into the art of winning friends and influencing people. We'll start with what I like to call the core foundations of positive interaction. These are the three most fundamental techniques you need to master before anything else. If you get these right, everything else becomes easier. The very first foundation, the most important rule of all, is a simple one, but it can be very difficult to practice. It is this: don't criticize, condemn, or complain. Let that sink in for a moment. Don't criticize, condemn, or complain. It sounds so basic, doesn't it? Yet, if we are honest with ourselves, we probably do these things every single day. We criticize a coworker's mistake. We condemn a politician's decision. We complain about the weather, the traffic, our family members. It often feels like our natural response to things we don't like. But this habit is incredibly destructive to our relationships. Let's explore why. When you criticize someone, you are doing more than just pointing out a flaw. You are delivering a direct blow to their pride, their sense of self-worth, and human beings are wired to protect their pride. Think about the last time you were criticized, especially in front of others. How did it make you feel? Did you feel motivated to improve? Or did you feel defensive, hurt, or even angry? Most of us immediately try to justify our actions. We make excuses. We might even silently start to build a case against the person who criticized us. Criticism does not lead to lasting change. It leads to resentment. Resentment is a deep, bitter feeling of being treated unfairly. And it is a poison that can slowly destroy any relationship. Whether it's with a colleague, a friend, or a family member. There's a famous story about a well-known safety engineer at a large construction company. One of his main jobs was to make sure all the workers wore their hard hats on the construction site. In the past, whenever he saw a worker without a hard hat, he would use his authority. He would sternly tell the worker that they were breaking the rules and that they absolutely had to wear their hat. The result? The worker would sullenly put on his hat. But as soon as the engineer turned his back, the hat would often come right back off. It was a battle of wills, and it created a negative atmosphere. Then, he decided to try a different approach. The next time he saw some workers without their hats, he walked over and asked if the hats were uncomfortable, or if they didn't fit properly. Then, in a friendly tone, he reminded the men that the hard hat was designed to protect them from injury, and that it was important to wear it for their own safety. The result was amazing. The workers started wearing their hats without any argument or resentment. They felt that he cared about them, not just about enforcing a rule. He solved the problem without criticizing anyone. He changed their behavior by first showing understanding and concern. This principle applies everywhere. Let's imagine a situation at an office. Sarah is a manager, and she notices that a member of her team, Mark, has submitted a report with several errors. Her first impulse might be to send him a quick, critical message on the team chat. Something like, "Mark, this report is full of mistakes. I need you to fix this immediately. Please be more careful next time." Think about how that message would feel to Mark. It's public. It's sharp. He would feel embarrassed and defensive. He would fix the report, but his morale, his feeling of enthusiasm for his job, would be damaged. He might start to see Sarah as a difficult boss, not a supportive leader. Now, let's see how Sarah could handle this by avoiding criticism. She could call Mark for a private chat or walk over to his desk. She could start by saying something positive. "Hi, Mark. Thanks for getting that report over to me so quickly. I know you've been working hard on it." This immediately sets a positive and safe tone. Then, she can address the issue collaboratively. "As I was reading through it, I noticed a few data points that seemed a bit unusual. Could we maybe take a look at them together? It's possible there's a new update I'm not aware of, and I want to make sure we're both on the same page." The difference is like night and day. Sarah has not blamed Mark. She used the word "we," making it a team effort. She framed the problem as something to understand, not as a personal failure. Mark is now much more likely to be open about his mistake, to learn from it, and to feel respected and supported by his manager. The problem gets solved, and the relationship gets stronger, not weaker. So, here is a small practice for you to begin with. Think of one situation in your life right now where you feel the urge to criticize or complain about someone. It could be a family member who is always late, or a coworker who is disorganized. Before you speak, pause. Ask yourself, what is the positive reason I want to address this? And how can I talk about the situation without blaming the person? Try to think from their perspective. Maybe the late person is overwhelmed with other responsibilities. Maybe the disorganized person has a different working style. Your goal is to solve the problem, not to win an argument or prove that you are right. Shifting from blame to understanding is the first and most powerful step in building better connections. Now that we understand the deep harm caused by criticism, you might be wondering, what should we do instead? We can't just ignore everything that we think could be improved. The answer lies in our second foundational principle, which is the positive force that should replace criticism. The second principle is this: give honest and sincere appreciation. Notice those two very important words, honest and sincere. This is not about flattery. Flattery is shallow, selfish, and insincere. It's saying nice things to people because you want something from them. Most people have a very good radar for flattery, and they can see right through it. It feels cheap and manipulative. Sincere appreciation, on the other hand, is selfless. It comes from the heart. It is about genuinely noticing the good in people and taking the time to express it. One of the deepest and most powerful desires of every human being is the desire to be important, to be recognized, to be appreciated. We all crave it. When you give someone honest appreciation, you are satisfying this deep emotional hunger. It is one of the most powerful motivators on the planet. Think about the people in your life. Do they get enough appreciation? Probably not. Most of us are quick to point out what's wrong and slow to praise what's right. A famous business leader, Charles Schwab, was once asked about his incredible success. He said that his greatest asset was his ability to inspire enthusiasm in his people. And what was his method? He said, "I am hearty in my approbation and lavish in my praise." Approbation is a wonderful word. It means approval or praise. He understood that people do their best work not when they are criticized, but when they are encouraged and appreciated. He believed in nourishing the good qualities in people, and he did that through genuine praise. So, how can we make this a regular habit? The secret to powerful appreciation is to be specific. General praise like "good job" or "you're great" is nice, but it lacks impact. Specific praise shows that you were paying attention. It proves that your compliment is genuine. Let's go back to our example of Sarah and Mark. After they worked together to fix the report, Sarah could have said, "Thanks for your help." That's okay. But imagine if she said this instead. "Mark, I really want to thank you. After we talked, you fixed those figures incredibly fast and accurately. Your ability to work so well under pressure is a huge asset to this team, and I really appreciate it." Imagine how Mark would feel hearing that. He would feel valued, respected, and motivated. He would want to do his best work for Sarah in the future, not out of fear, but out of a genuine desire to live up to her praise. This applies in our personal lives too. Instead of a quick "thanks for dinner" to your partner, you could say, "This chicken was delicious. I love how you got the skin so crispy. You are such a talented cook." Instead of saying to your child, "Nice drawing," you could say, "Wow, look at the detail you put into the trees in this drawing. The way you used different shades of green is so creative. It makes me feel like I could walk right into that forest." Being specific makes the appreciation real and memorable. Here is your next practice. For the next few days, I want you to become an appreciation detective. Your mission is to look for the good things people are doing around you, things that usually go unnoticed. It could be the way a coworker kindly helps a new employee. It could be the patience your partner shows when your child is having a difficult day. It could be the friendly attitude of the person at the checkout counter. Find these small, positive actions. And then, the most important part, say something. Express your appreciation and be specific. Thank you for being so patient just now. I really admire how you always stay so positive. You will not only make their day, but you will also start to train your own mind to see the good in the world, which will make you a happier person too. We have our first two foundations: stop criticizing and start appreciating. Now for the third, which is the key to motivating people and getting their enthusiastic cooperation. The third fundamental principle is arouse in the other person an eager want. This is a powerful concept that requires a big shift in our perspective. Most of the time, when we want something, we talk about it from our own point of view. We talk about our needs, our desires, our goals. I need you to finish this project. I want to go on vacation to the mountains. I want you to buy this product. But here is a simple truth. Other people are not interested in what you want. They are busy being interested in what they want. So, if you want to persuade someone to do something, you must stop focusing on your own wants and start focusing on theirs. You have to show them how doing what you want will also help them get what they want. You have to connect your goal to their desire. There's a wonderful analogy for this. If you go fishing, you might personally love to eat strawberries and cream. But when you put bait on the hook, you don't use strawberries. You use what the fish wants, which is worms. You bait the hook to suit the fish, not yourself. It's the same with people. When you want to influence someone, you have to talk in terms of what they want. Let's think about a common family situation. A father wants his daughter, Emily, to clean her messy room. The typical approach might be to say, "Emily, your room is a disaster. You need to clean it right now, or you're grounded." This is talking about what the father wants. It leads to conflict and resentment. Emily might clean the room out of fear, but she won't want to do it. Now, let's try to arouse an eager want. The father needs to think, what does Emily want? Well, Emily is a teenager. Maybe she wants more freedom. Maybe she wants to have her friends over. The father could try a different approach. He could say, "Emily, I know you've been wanting to have your friends over for a movie night this weekend. That sounds like a lot of fun. You know, I think your friends would be a lot more comfortable and have a better time if your room was a clean and tidy space for you all to hang out in. If you can get your room looking great, the house is yours for movie night on Friday." Now, the father has connected his desire, a clean room, with Emily's desire, having friends over. He has made her want to clean her room. It's no longer a chore being forced upon her. It's a step towards achieving her own goal. This is the art of motivation. This principle is the secret to success in any field. If you are a salesperson, don't tell your customer about all the features of your product. Instead, ask them about their problems, and then show them how your product is the solution they have been looking for. If you are a job applicant, don't just talk about what you want from the job. Talk about how your skills and experience can help the company solve its problems and achieve its goals. Always think from the other person's perspective. Here is a practice for this powerful principle. Think of something you want to persuade someone to do this week. Before you say anything to them, take a piece of paper and draw a line down the middle. On the left side, write down all the reasons why you want them to do it. On the right side, Write down all the reasons why they might want to do it. What are the benefits for them? How does it align with their goals, their values, or their desires? Focus all your energy on the right side of the page. When you talk to them, speak only about their reasons, their benefits. Try to genuinely arouse in them an eager want. Mastering these three foundations, don't criticize, give sincere appreciation, and arouse an eager want, will fundamentally change the quality of your interactions. You will create less friction and more cooperation. You will build relationships based on respect and understanding, not conflict and resentment. Now that we have this strong foundation, let's build upon it. Let's move to the next set of ideas, which are all about how to make people genuinely like you. These are not tricks to become popular. They are simple habits that make you a more likable and approachable person, someone that others are happy to be around. The first and most important of these habits is this: become genuinely interested in other people. This might be the most powerful secret for making friends quickly. We live in a very self-focused world. Most people are thinking about themselves, their problems, their desires, their stories. In a typical conversation, each person is often just waiting for their turn to speak. But the person who is truly loved and admired is the one who can step outside of themselves and show a real, sincere interest in others. Think about man's best friend, the dog. Why do people love dogs so much? A dog offers pure, unconditional love and interest. When you come home from a long day, your dog doesn't care about your problems or want to tell you about its day. It is just overwhelmingly happy to see you. It wags its tail, jumps with joy, and makes you feel like you are the most important person in the world. A dog makes its living by showing a genuine interest in you. We can learn a profound lesson from this. You can make more friends in 2 months by becoming truly interested in other people than you can in 2 years by trying to get other people interested in you. Let that idea sink in. We spend so much energy trying to be impressive, trying to tell people about our accomplishments and our interesting life. We think this will make people like us. But often, the opposite is true. The best way to make a connection is to show people that you are interested in them. How do we do this? It starts with asking questions, but not just any questions. Ask questions that show you care about their life, their feelings, their experiences, and when they answer, you must truly listen. Put your phone away. Stop thinking about what you're going to say next. Just focus on their words and the meaning behind them. For example, if you meet someone new at a party, instead of launching into a speech about your job, ask them about theirs. What do you do for a living? What's the most challenging part of your job? What do you enjoy most about it? People love to talk about themselves and their passions. When you give them the opportunity to do that, they will walk away from the conversation feeling great, and they will think you are a fascinating person, even if you barely spoke about yourself. Another powerful way to show interest is to remember the details. If a coworker mentions on Monday that their daughter has a piano recital on Thursday, make a note of it. On Friday, ask them, "Hey, how did your daughter's piano recital go?" The fact that you remembered a small detail that was important to them is a huge compliment. It shows that you listen and that you care. It builds a powerful bond of friendship. Let's try a practice for this, for the next 24 hours. I challenge you to be a people scientist. In every conversation you have, your goal is to learn as much as you can about the other person. Talk as little about yourself as possible. Pretend you are a friendly journalist, and your job is to discover what makes this person unique and interesting. You will be amazed at what you learn, and you will see an immediate positive reaction from the people you talk to. Moving on to our second habit for being more likable. This one is so simple you might overlook its power. It costs nothing, but it creates so much good. The second habit is smile. A simple, genuine smile is one of the most effective communication tools we have. It instantly communicates warmth, openness, and friendliness. It's a universal signal that says, "I'm happy to see you. I mean you no harm." Think about how you feel when a stranger gives you a warm smile. It can brighten your whole day. Now think about walking into a store where the employee behind the counter is frowning. It makes you feel unwelcome and uncomfortable. The smile, or the lack of it, completely changes the emotional tone of an interaction. Some people say, "But I don't feel like smiling." The interesting thing is that your actions can influence your feelings. If you act happy, you can actually start to feel happier. Try it. Force yourself to smile, to stand up straighter, to act with enthusiasm. It sends positive signals to your brain and can lift your mood. So, by smiling at others, you're not just giving them a gift. You're giving one to yourself as well. A smile needs to be sincere. It has to come from within. A fake mechanical smile is easy to spot. A true smile involves your whole face, especially your eyes. It communicates genuine pleasure. This kind of smile can melt away suspicion and resistance. It makes people feel safe and comfortable with you. Even on the telephone, a smile can be heard. Your voice has a different tone when you are smiling. It sounds warmer and more engaging. So, for your practice, for the rest of today, make a conscious decision to offer a warm, genuine smile to every person you interact with. The person who serves your coffee, the people you work with, your family at home. Don't look for anything in return. Just offer your smile as a small act of kindness, and see how it transforms the world around you. Now for the third habit, which involves a sound that is music to everyone's ears. The third habit is, remember that a person's name is to that person the sweetest and most important sound in any language. Your name is your identity. It's deeply personal. When someone remembers and uses your name, it sends a powerful, unspoken message. You are an individual. You are important. You matter to me. Forgetting someone's name, on the other hand, can feel like a small rejection. It implies that they were not important enough to remember. Many of us claim to have a bad memory for names, but it's often just a lack of attention and technique. Remembering names is a skill that can be learned. First, when you're introduced to someone, make a conscious effort to listen. If you don't hear the name clearly, ask them to repeat it. People appreciate that you care enough to get it right. Second, repeat the name back to them. "It's a pleasure to meet you, Jennifer." This helps lock it in your memory. Third, try to use the name naturally a few times during the conversation. Fourth, create a mental association. Connect the name to a feature or a fact about the person. Finally, When you leave, you might even jot the name down in your phone to review later. The effort you invest in remembering names pays enormous dividends. It is one of the simplest and most effective ways to build rapport and make people feel valued. Whether you're talking to a new client or the person who delivers your packages, using their name is a form of respect that people will never forget. So, the next time you meet someone new, make it your mission to learn and remember their name. It is the simplest and most powerful compliment you can pay them. We are building a great set of habits. Be interested. Smile. Use names. The fourth habit is one of the most important and most neglected skills in our modern, noisy world. The fourth habit is, be a good listener. Encourage others to talk about themselves. Everyone is craving to be heard. Most of us are so full of our own thoughts, our own stories, our own advice, that we rarely give another person the gift of our full, undivided attention. Good listening is not just waiting for your turn to talk. It is an active, engaged process. It means putting your phone down, making eye contact, and focusing completely on what the other person is saying and what they are not saying. To be a good listener, you must be curious. Ask questions that encourage the other person to talk more, especially open-ended questions that can't be answered with a simple yes or no. Instead of, "Did you have a good weekend?" Try, "What was the highlight of your weekend?" This invites a story. As they speak, nod, and provide small affirmations like, "I see," or "That's interesting." This shows you are following along. When someone comes to you with a problem, your first instinct might be to offer a solution. Often, this is a mistake. What the person usually wants first is just to be heard and understood. They want to know that their feelings are valid. So, before you give advice, just listen. Let them express themselves fully. Sometimes, the simple act of being heard is all the help a person needs. They often find their own solutions just by talking the problem through with an empathetic listener. If you want to be known as a great conversationalist, the secret is to let other people do most of the talking. Encourage them to talk about their interests, their passions, their lives. They will leave the conversation feeling that you are one of the most interesting and intelligent people they have ever met, simply because you gave them the space to be themselves. For your practice, in your next important conversation, make a promise to yourself that you will listen more than you speak. Your goal is to understand, not to be understood. The fifth habit logically follows from being a good listener. Once you have listened and learned about the other person, you can then apply this principle. Talk in terms of the other person's interests. Think about it. What do you love to talk about? Your hobbies, your passions, your goals. It's the same for everyone else. The royal road to a person's heart is to talk about the things they treasure most. If you know someone loves to travel, ask them about their favorite trip. If they are passionate about gardening, ask them for tips on growing tomatoes. You don't have to be an expert on their interests. You just have to be curious. People love to share their knowledge and passion with an interested listener. One of the most effective leaders in American history had a famous habit. Before meeting with any visitor, he would study up on the topics he knew his guest was passionate about. By talking to them about their own world, he immediately created a powerful connection. This requires a little bit of effort, but it shows a tremendous amount of respect. It tells the other person, "I value you so much that I took the time to learn about what is important to you." So, before your next meeting or social gathering, do a little homework. Find out what the other person cares about. During the conversation, steer the topic toward their interests. You will find that the conversation flows more easily, and a genuine bond begins to form. This brings us to our sixth and final habit in this section, and it truly is the culmination of all the others. The sixth habit is, make the other person feel important, and do it sincerely. This is the ultimate goal. This is the underlying principle behind everything we have discussed. When you become genuinely interested, when you smile, when you remember a name, when you listen, when you talk in terms of their interests, you are sending one consistent, powerful message. You are important. In a world that often makes people feel small and invisible, making someone feel genuinely seen and valued is an incredible gift. How can we do this? Use small courtesies like "please," "thank you," and "I'm sorry to trouble you." Acknowledge people's efforts and contributions, no matter how small. Ask people for their opinions and listen to them thoughtfully. Address people by their proper titles until you are invited to be more familiar. These are all small acts of respect that add up to make a person feel important. Adopt the mindset that everyone you meet is your superior in some way. Everyone has knowledge, experiences, or qualities that you can learn from. If you approach every person with this humble and respectful attitude, you will naturally make them feel valued. When you make other people feel important, you not only lift them up, but you also become the kind of person that others admire, respect, and want to be around. It is truly wonderful to think about how those simple habits, being interested, smiling, using names, listening, talking in their interests, and making them feel important, can so beautifully change our daily interactions and build strong, warm friendships. They form the bedrock of being a person that others genuinely want to be around. But what about those times when it's not just about getting along? What about the times when we have a difference of opinion? What about situations where we need to persuade someone to bring them over to our way of thinking? This is often where relationships get tested. Disagreements can easily turn into arguments, and arguments can create lasting damage. We might win the argument with facts and logic, but we might lose the person's goodwill in the process. And often, even when we think we've won, we haven't actually changed the other person's mind at all. We've just forced them into silence. So now, we're going to move into a new area. We're going to explore some amazing principles for how to win people to your way of thinking, without creating conflict or resentment. This is the art of gentle persuasion, of influence through respect and understanding. This is where we learn how to handle disagreements gracefully and effectively. The very first principle in this area is perhaps the most important and the most challenging to our instincts. It is this: the only way to get the best of an argument is to avoid it. This sounds strange, doesn't it? Our culture often teaches us to stand our ground, to fight for what we believe is right, to win the debate. But I want you to think about the last real argument you had, a proper, heated argument, where voices were raised and emotions ran high. At the end of it, did either person truly change their mind? Or did both of you just become even more convinced that you were right? In 99 cases out of 100, that's exactly what happens. An argument is not a discussion. A discussion is a collaborative search for the truth. An argument is a battle of egos. When a disagreement becomes an argument, people are no longer listening to each other. They are just reloading their own verbal weapons, waiting for a chance to attack. Even if you manage to prove with crushing logic that the other person is completely wrong, you haven't really won. You have made them feel inferior. You have hurt their pride. And a person convinced against their will is of the same opinion still. You might have won the point, but you've lost the person. So, what should we do when we disagree with someone? The first step is to control our own initial emotional reaction. Our instinct is to immediately say, "No, you're wrong." We must resist this. Take a deep breath. The wise approach is to try to build a bridge, not a bigger wall. Look for areas of agreement first. Even in the most heated disagreement, there is usually some common ground. Start there. You could say something like, "I can see why you feel that way, and I agree with you on this particular point." This immediately lowers the other person's defenses. It shows that you are listening and that you respect their perspective, even if you don't fully agree. Let's imagine a team meeting at work. Two colleagues, David and Linda, have different ideas for a new marketing campaign. David wants to focus on social media ads. Linda thinks they should invest in creating high-quality video content for their website. If they start to argue, it might sound like this. David says, "Social media is the only way to go. We need quick results, and your video idea will take months." Linda might reply, "Your ads will just be ignored. People are tired of ads. We need to build value with good content." Now they are in a battle. Their egos are involved. Neither one wants to back down, and the team leader has a conflict to manage. Now, let's see what happens if Linda decides to avoid an argument. David presents his idea for social media ads. Instead of immediately attacking it, Linda could say, "David, that's a really interesting idea. I agree with you completely that we need to get our message out to a wider audience quickly. You're right that social media is a powerful tool for that." Now, David feels heard and respected. He's not on the defensive. Then, Linda can introduce her idea as a supplement, not a replacement. "I was wondering if there might be a way to connect your idea with another one. What if the social media ads you're proposing could drive traffic to a really compelling video on our website? That way, we get the immediate reach you're looking for, and we also give our audience something of real value to engage with. How could we make those two ideas work together?" The entire dynamic has changed. It's no longer a fight. It's a creative, collaborative discussion. By avoiding a head-on argument and looking for common ground, Linda has created an opportunity to find a better solution that incorporates both of their ideas. So, here is your practice for this principle. The next time you feel yourself entering into an argument, I want you to try this 4-step process. First, stop and take a breath. Resist the urge to attack. Second, listen. Let the other person state their full case without interruption. Third, look for any part of their statement that you can honestly agree with, and state that agreement clearly. Fourth, Postpone your response. Suggest that you both take some time to think about the other's point of view. You could say, "Thank you for sharing that. You've given me a lot to think about. Can we talk about this again tomorrow after I've had a chance to consider it?" By doing this, you disarm the conflict and create space for a more productive conversation later. Avoiding an argument doesn't mean you are weak. It means you are wise. This leads us directly to the second principle for winning people to your way of thinking. It's a specific technique for how to handle disagreements when they arise. The second principle is, show respect for the other person's opinion. Never say, "You're wrong." The two words, "you're wrong," are among the most damaging you can use in a conversation. They are a direct challenge. It's like saying, "I'm smarter than you. My judgment is better than yours." It immediately makes the other person want to defend themselves. It provokes resistance and makes it almost impossible for them to consider your point of view, even if you are right. When you tell someone they are wrong, you are stripping them of their dignity, and they will resent it. But what if they are wrong? Even then, directly telling them so is the worst way to approach it. There are much more diplomatic and effective ways to handle it. You could begin by saying something like, "Well, I have been thinking about this differently. But I might be wrong. I often am. Let's look at the facts together and see if we can find the best path forward." This is an incredibly disarming approach. When you admit that you might be wrong, it makes the other person feel safe. It encourages them to be just as open and fair-minded as you are. It opens the door to a real discussion. Let's imagine a conversation between a husband and wife, Tom and Maria, who are planning their budget. Tom looks at the numbers and says, "We're spending way too much on groceries. You're wrong to be buying all those expensive organic items." Maria will immediately feel attacked. She might snap back. "Well, you're wrong to be spending so much on your golf hobby. At least I'm buying healthy food for our family." And now they are in a fight. Let's replay that scene with our new principle. Tom could say, "Maria, I was looking at our budget, and the grocery bill is higher than I expected. Help me understand the numbers a bit better. I know it's really important to you that we eat healthy, and I value that so much. I'm just wondering if there are any creative ways we could get the same healthy results for a little bit less, so we can put more money towards our vacation fund." What a difference! Tom didn't say, "You're wrong." He started with a desire to understand. He acknowledged the value of her opinion. Healthy eating is important. He made it a shared goal. Our vacation fund, and a collaborative challenge. Are there any creative ways we could? Maria is now a partner in solving a problem, not an opponent in a fight. She is much more likely to be open to discussing the grocery budget without feeling defensive. So, the next time you are tempted to tell someone they are wrong, bite your tongue. Instead, try one of these phrases. "I see your point, but my perspective is a little different." Or, "That's an interesting way to look at it. The way I had understood it was." These simple changes in wording can transform a potential argument into a productive dialogue. Now, we have learned to avoid saying "you're wrong" to others. But what about when we are the ones who are wrong? This brings us to the third principle, which can be a real superpower in human relations: The third principle is, if you are wrong, admit it quickly and emphatically. This is the opposite of what most of us do naturally. Our ego wants to defend our actions, to make excuses, to shift the blame. But there is incredible power in simply saying, I was wrong. I made a mistake. I apologize. When you admit your mistake quickly and with enthusiasm, something magical happens. The other person's desire to fight and criticize you often melts away completely. When someone is angry with you because you made a mistake, they are prepared for a fight. If you immediately start defending yourself, you give them exactly the battle they are expecting. But if you disarm them by agreeing with them, the fight is over before it begins. In fact, they will often switch from being your accuser to being your defender. This technique is incredibly effective in professional settings. Imagine you missed an important deadline for a client. The client calls you, and they are angry. You could make excuses. The IT department was slow. Or, my team member didn't get me the information. This will only make the client angrier. Instead, imagine if you said this, Miss Johnson, I am so sorry. There is no excuse. I missed the deadline, and I know I have let you down. It was my responsibility to manage this, and I failed to do so. I completely understand why you are upset, and I want you to know that I am already working to fix it. The project will be on your desk by the end of today. This kind of quick, honest, and emphatic apology is incredibly powerful. It takes all the fight out of the angry client. It shows integrity and responsibility. It builds trust, even though you made a mistake. So, here is your practice. The very next time you realize you've made a mistake, big or small, I want you to resist the urge to hide it or make excuses. Step forward, take full responsibility, and apologize sincerely. Admit it quickly and emphatically. Notice how this changes the other person's reaction. It takes courage, but it is one of the fastest ways to earn respect and resolve conflict. These principles are all building on each other. We avoid arguments, we respect others' opinions, and we admit our own faults. The fourth principle sets the tone for any interaction and makes it much more likely to be successful. The fourth principle is, begin in a friendly way. There is an old fable about the sun and the wind. They had a competition to see who could get a man to take off his coat. The wind went first. It blew with all its might. But the harder the wind blew, the more tightly the man wrapped his coat around himself. The wind finally gave up. Then it was the sun's turn. The sun simply began to shine. It shone gently and warmly. Soon, the man became so warm that he took his coat off. The fable's moral is clear. Gentleness and friendliness are always more powerful than fury and force. This is a profound truth in human relations. If you approach someone with your fists clenched, they will clench their fists too. But if you approach them with friendliness, with a warm smile, with genuine kindness, you will find that they are much more likely to be friendly and reasonable in return. A drop of honey will catch more flies than a gallon of gall. For your practice, think of a difficult conversation you need to have with someone. Maybe you need to ask for a favor or address a problem. Before you have that conversation, I want you to plan your friendly opening. How can you start the interaction with genuine warmth and kindness? What sincere compliment or friendly question can you begin with? Make it your goal to make the other person smile before you even get to the difficult topic. This friendly start can make all the difference. Beginning in a friendly way is like oiling a machine before you start it. It makes everything run more smoothly and prevents the friction that can cause a breakdown. But once you've set that positive tone, how do you actually start to guide the conversation toward a positive conclusion? This brings us to a wonderfully subtle and powerful technique. Our fifth principle for winning people to your way of thinking. Get the other person saying, yes, yes, immediately. This is a method of conversation that goes back thousands of years to the great Greek philosopher Socrates. The secret is to begin by asking questions with which the other person must agree. You get them to say yes to a series of small points. With each yes, you are creating a psychological momentum, a current of affirmation. When a person has said yes several times, their whole mindset is in an affirmative direction. They are much less likely to suddenly stop and say no. Let me share a story that perfectly illustrates this. There was a woman named Amelia who lived in a quiet suburban neighborhood. The local park had a small, old, and rather sad-looking play area for children. Amelia, a mother of two, was passionate about getting the town to build a new, modern playground. The problem was the head of the community finance board, a man named Mr. Henderson. He was famously frugal and known for saying no to almost any new spending project. Amelia knew that if she walked into the monthly town meeting and started by saying, "I'm here to ask for $25,000 for a new playground," Mr. Henderson's immediate answer would be a firm no. So, she decided to use the yes, yes approach. At the meeting, she stood up with a warm, friendly smile. She began with questions. "Ladies and gentlemen, would you all agree that our primary goal is to maintain the value and appeal of our town for all our residents?" Heads nodded. Mr. Henderson said, "Yes, of course." That was her first yes. Amelia continued, "And a huge part of that appeal is making our community a place where young families feel safe, welcome, and want to choose to raise their children. Isn't that right?" "Yes, that's a major factor." Mr. Henderson agreed. A second yes. "And for those families," Amelia went on, "the safety of their children is surely the single most important priority we could possibly have. Wouldn't you say?" "Absolutely," another board member chimed in. The third, yes. Only after building this undeniable foundation of agreement did Amelia gently guide the conversation to her point. "I'm so glad we all agree on these core values," she said, "because it brings me to the reason I'm here tonight, to talk about how we can better uphold these shared goals of community appeal and child safety by addressing the current state of the play area in our Central Park." By the time she finally mentioned the need for a new playground, it was no longer a frivolous expense. It was the logical solution to achieving all the goals that Mr. Henderson had just repeatedly agreed were his top priorities. Amelia got her playground, not by arguing, but by guiding. This leads us to our next principle, which builds on the idea of letting the other person guide the conversation. The sixth principle is, let the other person do a great deal of the talking. When you let the other person do the talking, several wonderful things happen. They get to express their own thoughts, which makes them feel respected. They will often reveal their true objections and motivations. And sometimes they will talk themselves right into your way of thinking. Let me tell you a story about a sales manager named Frank, who was trying to hire a top salesperson named Kevin from a rival company. Frank's initial offer was only a small increase in salary, and Kevin was hesitant. Instead of lecturing Kevin on how great his company was, Frank invited him for a coffee. He simply asked, "Kevin, if you were to ever consider making a change, what would you be looking for? What would your ideal job look like?" And then Frank just listened. Kevin talked for almost 45 minutes. He spoke about his frustrations in his current job, how his ideas were never heard, how he wanted a path to leadership. Frank barely said a word. When Kevin finished, Frank began to address, one by one, every single point Kevin had raised. He explained how his company's culture was built on listening to its salespeople and showed him a clear path to management. By letting Kevin do the talking, Frank discovered what was truly important to him and was able to show him how his company could provide it. Kevin accepted the job with enthusiasm. This brings us to the seventh, and perhaps the most masterful principle of persuasion. The seventh principle is, let the other person feel that the idea is his or hers. We all have more faith in the ideas we discover ourselves. A wise person, when trying to persuade others, doesn't force their ideas on them. Instead, they plant a seed, they make suggestions, and then they let the other person come to the conclusion on their own. A story about a new manager named Chloe illustrates this perfectly. Chloe was hired to lead a team of experienced designers who used an old, inefficient system for tracking projects. Chloe knew a modern software would solve their problems, but she also knew the team would resist an order from a new boss. Instead of announcing a change, she had one-on-one meetings and asked each designer, "What is the most frustrating part of your day?" They all complained about the old system, lost emails, unclear statuses. A week later, she called a team meeting. She summarized their frustrations and then asked, "So, as the experts, how can we solve this? What would an ideal system look like for you?" The team designed their perfect system on a whiteboard. They described a central place for feedback, real-time status updates, and clear deadlines. As they finished, Chloe said, "This is brilliant. You know, there are some software tools on the market that are built to do exactly what you've described. Would you be open to me researching a few options that match your design? And then you all can decide which one is the best fit." The team was thrilled. They felt they had come up with the solution. The transition to the new system was a huge success because every single person on the team felt that the idea was theirs. What a deep and insightful journey we've been on together. We've explored the foundations of positive interaction, the habits that make people genuinely like you, and now, the subtle art of bringing people to your way of thinking without causing conflict. These are not just tricks. They are a philosophy for interacting with others based on respect, empathy, and wisdom. I know we have covered a vast amount of information. Please, do not feel that you need to master everything all at once. The goal is progress, not perfection. I want to invite you to do the same thing I suggested before. Choose just one. Pick one single principle from our discussion today that resonated with you. Maybe it's the idea of avoiding arguments, Or perhaps it's the challenge of letting the other person feel the idea is theirs. Whatever it is, make that one principle your focus for the coming week. Practice it. Observe what happens, and see how it begins to change your interactions for the better. Thank you so much for spending this time with me today on English in Fluency. It has been an absolute pleasure to be your host, Alex, and to share these powerful ideas with you. I truly hope this session has provided you with valuable tools to enhance your relationships and, of course, to continue improving your English. If you enjoyed our deep dive today and want to continue on this path of learning and personal growth, please make sure to subscribe to our podcast. And for all our listeners, new and old, please don't forget to hit that bell notification icon. It's the very best way to ensure you're the first to know when we release our next episode. Your support is what makes this all possible. We look forward to having you with us again next time. Until then, take care, keep practicing, and go out and build some wonderful connections.